Good evening, everybody. A very warm welcome to you all. This is your host, Sonal Pandya from Samsung HME. As the entire world is facing COVID crisis, role of X-ray and CT chest is critical in patient management. We are happy to bring you a webinar on role of chest imaging in patient management in COVID era. Our speaker today is an eminent radiologist, Dr. B.R. Goyal, Director and Zonal Head Radiology, Max Hospital, Patparganj and Max Vishali. He has been in the field of radiology for over 26 years and has been trained in all high-end imaging in India and abroad. Dr. Goyal specializes in neuroimaging, non-vascular interventional radiology, and elastography. He has received a number of awards, including President's Appreciation Awards from IRIA, as well as Delhi Medical Association Award. He has a number of publications, research papers, and articles in journals and magazines of national repute. He's also the Vice President of IRIA Delhi State Chapter for the current year. It is our honor and privilege to have Dr. B.R. Goyal as a speaker for this webinar. As we start, we would like to let you know, for any questions, please post it under the questions tab. All the questions will be taken up at the end of the session. Also, at the end of the session, you will be requested for your feedback. Kindly submit the same. It will help us choose topics of your interest for future webinars. We have also provided a very valuable handout to you. It is available in the handouts tab. You may click the handouts tab and download the handout. With this, I would like to invite Dr. Goyal for his talk.
Good evening, my friends. Thank you very much, Sonal, for a kind introduction. First of all, I'd like to convey my sincere thanks to Ms. Sonal once again and Team Samsung for giving me this opportunity and to share my experience. I've been asked to speak on role of chest imaging in patient management in COVID era. So as we all know that a lot of research are going on, lot of opinions, lot of guidelines, lot of treatment protocols, and we all are confused. In our hospital, we are doing good number of plain X-rays and CT chest on COVID patients, and I have gone through good number of articles, and I've tried to make this topic as simple as easy for all of us. So I'll be covering my topic under these headings. About introduction, a little bit about safety precaution, X-ray findings in COVID patients, CT chest, what are the findings, all opacities are not COVID, we need to know those, about artificial intelligence, and then I'll conclude my session. So as we know that COVID-19 is also otherwise called as severe acute respiratory syndrome coronavirus 2. Diagnosis is made by a positive PCR test, which is highly specific and less sensitive. Sensitivity of chest X-ray is low, but can be used for assessing disease progression and severity. CT has a higher sensitivity, but lower specificity, and can play a role in detecting, quantify the severity, assessment of progression, and also in evaluating the potential response to therapy alternative. We all know the clinical features that COVID patient, they have fever, cough, shortness of breath. I'll not go to details. Yes, very important slide. We need to have a safety precaution. We need to have a dedicated medical equipment for these COVID patients. We need to have a regular cleaning and disinfection as per manufacturer's recommendation. About PP kit, we all know, and we need to minimize ourselves to these patients. And staff education is very important. So when do we need imaging and when we don't need imaging? So what are the main recommendations? So imaging is indicated for patients with moderate to severe features of COVID-19, regardless of COVID-19 test result. Imaging is indicated for patients with COVID-19 and evidence of worsening respiratory status. In a resource-constrained environment where access to CT is limited, chest X-ray may be preferred for patients with COVID-19 unless features of respiratory worsening warrant the use of CT. Imaging is not routinely indicated as a screening test for COVID-19 in asymptomatic patients. Imaging is again not indicated for patients with mild features of COVID-19 unless they are at risk for disease progression. Some of the additional recommendations are daily chest radiograph are not indicated in stable intubated patients with COVID-19. CT is indicated in patients with functional impairment or hypoxia after recovery from COVID-19. COVID-19 testing is indicated in patients incidentally found to have findings suggestive of COVID-19 on a CT scan. Let's come to chest X-rays. We all know that the limited literature available on chest X-ray is a good screening tool for triage patients due to delay in RT-PCR report. Nearly 30% are normal at presentation, 10 to 15% have chest abnormality prior to RT-PCR positivity. Sensitivity, of course, is about 70%, not very high as compared to RT-PCR, which is almost close to 90%. Chest X-ray finding could be worse at 10 to 12 days. So what are the findings when we do a chest X-ray? Of course, initial few days, this could be normal. We do have a ground glass opacities, which is typical low involvement, the more peripheral, the always bilateral, multifocal. Effusion lymphadenopathy, of course, are not common, but we might see that. Let's come to X-ray. This is a patient of this is a plain X-ray, which is almost normal, and CT scan is showing ground glass haziness in the right lower zone. Another patient, we are seeing a multifocal ground glass opacities in the right upper and bilateral mid zones. They were confirmed on a CT scan. They are more peripheral, bilateral, multifocal. That's a MIP image. Another patient who has a opacity in a typical bilateral mid and lower zones that appears to have increased in follow-up X-ray and getting cleared off in follow-up X-ray. So that's where role of follow-up X-ray come. Another patient, we can just see only mild haze in bilateral mid zones, both sides, and which have appeared to increase in the follow-up X-ray. This is another patient where you're seeing ground glass haze in mid and lower zones that typically peripheral and basal. That's a follow-up X-ray. Another patient where we can see bilateral haze, right and left little more. Follow-up X-ray is showing more peripheral opacity, which are typical of COVID patients. You can definitely appreciate the more peripheral and more basal. That's another follow-up X-ray, and another follow-up X-ray which is showing regression in the opacities. Another patient which you can see subtle opacities in right mid and left lower zone. You see a follow-up X-ray again, opacity have increased, which is more peripheral. Opacity again has increased, which is more peripheral, and the follow-up X-ray opacity are nearly regressed now. Another patient where you can see a subtle haze in the right lower zone, which was confirmed on CT. You can see a ground glass opacity typical, and you can see a bronchovascular thickening here. Follow-up X-ray, you are seeing typical peripheral opacities on both sides, multifocal. Follow-up X-ray, you can definitely appreciate peripheral opacities, right side and left side both. Follow-up X-ray is showing almost a regression of opacity. Another patient where you are seeing bilateral lower zone opacities, which are subtle, of course. CT was performed next day, and where we are seeing ground glass opacity bilateral basal with some air space. That's a follow-up X-ray. Opacity is really like very mild and getting cleared off. Here I want to make it a point that when you're seeing these X-rays during pandemic, be very careful. See, if you forget this CT scan picture, if I see this X-ray and this patient could have come to me as a master health checkup. Maybe I would have put this as a normal X-ray. So during pandemic, any sort of opacity, we need to very careful, and we need to have a good equipment for that. We are fortunate that we are having a good DR from Samsung. That's our DR, and getting really good quality X-rays. So once patients are admitted in the hospital, so we need to have a follow-up X-ray, which are usually bedside, in ICUs or maybe in the ward. So again, I'll recommend that portable DR definitely is better than CR. That definitely there are many reasons. Image can be viewed immediately on the system, which can be shown to clinician there itself. Resolution is very good. We all know it. We can definitely avoid movement of cassette outside COVID area. Less radiation, of course, wireless exposure switch. So now we have done the X-ray, and we talk about opacity is here and opacity is there. And clinician is going to come and ask us what these opacity are meaning. I mean, you're talking the opacity in mid zone, the opacity in the lower zone. So what the opacity mean for you? So that's why we talk about the severity. So what we do, we just draw a vertical line through this vertebral body. We divide into zones, upper and mid zone. First two ribs, that's upper zone, 2 to 4 rib, that's a mid zone we all know, and below 4 is a lower zone. So we divide into upper, mid, and lower zones. Both sides we give a 1 point each for upper, middle, and lower, 3 and 3.6. So if you see opacity in the two zones, like as you are seeing here in lower zone, right side and the left side, so score goes 2. As per severity score, that's a lower severity case. While on the other X-ray, you are seeing opacity are there in the upper zone, mid zone, and the lower zone. Again, here also you are seeing the mid and lower zone. So almost 5 zones are involved. So like severity score goes 5, which is like a severe case. So we can talk to clinician that no, this is the serious patient and this is not very serious patient. Of course, literature is mentioning a lot of scoring system where they divide into segments and they go really into detail. I don't know how much that's really useful and how much clinician is going to see that score and how much they really know it. I feel that's very easy to talk whether it's a mild disease or whether it's a severe disease. So once we have X-ray in the hand, that's the reporting format. If you see a normal X-ray, so we cannot exclude COVID-19 still. We make it a CBCX0 score. If you have a typical finding, what I'm talking, low predominant, peripheral opacity, multiple, bilateral, focal area of gum loss opacity, the typical case, and we report, we put as a CBCX1. When you see our finding which may not be fitting into COVID and like like other viral pneumonias, so we put it CBCX2. And when you think the COVID findings, there could be pneumothorax, lower pneumonia, pleural effusion, pulmonary edema, we make it CBCX3. So coming to CT scan, of course, which is very important. We do usually HRCT in COVID patients, keeping a 0.6 to 5 mm to 1.5 mm slice thickness. We do not give any contrast in these patients, but yes, sometimes clinician may ask pulmonary angiogram. So that's where we give a contrast. But in those cases, also it's a good idea to do a HRCT first and then do a pulmonary angiogram. So not to forget that when you get a patient in CT, to take all aseptic precautions, you have to cover the gantry, use of proper PP kit, and yes, once you complete the patient in here, after shifting patient, we call a housekeeping team which do sanitization with a hypochlorite solution, and we leave it for half an hour before taking the next patient. So what are the findings in CT scan we do have here? Again, typical gum loss opacities, which are bilateral, subpleural, and peripheral. A crazy baby pattern, which is due to inter or intraluminal septal thickening, airspace consolidation, bronchoscopic thickening in the lesion, traction bronchiectasis, the other findings we do see. But if you have a peripheral distribution, ground glass opacities, bronchovascular thickening, the typical findings of COVID patients. So they are the four stages have been described in the literature. 0 to 4 days CT could be normal, or they could be only ground glass opacities in early phase. What we call a progressive stage, that is usually 5 to 8 days. Increased ground glass opacities and crazy baby pattern. 9 to 13 days we start having consolidation, and that's a peak stage. And after 14 days we call it absorption stage with an improvement in the disease course, and there could be fibrous types appear and abnormalities resolve at 1 month and beyond. So let's see some now different patterns, what pattern you do see in COVID patients. These are typical ground glass opacities I was talking, which is bilateral multifocal. That's a crazy baby pattern, what we see in COVID patients. That's a ground glass opacity. There's a vascular thickening we do see through this ground glass opacity. There are bronchotactic changes. There are typical subpleural lesions that could be due to linear consolidations. Now let's see some cases. Here is a 65-year-old male who had a history of continuous fever, evening rise, and loss of appetite. The typical ground glass opacity, which are in the bases, peripheral opacities, peripheral ground glass opacities on both sides. Another young male who had a history of fever for 3 days with cough and sore throat and shortness of breath. Again, the ground glass opacity, you can see here small patch, another patch is here. So again, bilateral multifocal ground glass opacities. These are subpleural opacities here. You are seeing very small, though these we could not appreciate on chest X-ray. Another middle-aged female who had a history of fever and shortness of breath and cough for 5 to 6 days. She was known asthmatic, hypertensive, and diabetic. What you're seeing, typical findings, both mid and low zones are involved. They are again peripheral and basal. CT, again, you are seeing these ground glass opacity, which are more peripheral. You could see some small crazy baby pattern, of course. Multifocal, more peripheral. Another middle-aged person who had a fever and non-productive cough for 2 weeks with shortness of breath. What again we are seeing, ground glass opacities, bilateral, focal, more in the bases and more posterior. That typical ground glass opacities of COVID. I'm talking about basal and which are more posterior. Another elderly male with a history of fever for 15 days with altered sensorium for 1 day, oliguria, and poor oral intake. What we are seeing, the typical opacity which are more peripheral on X-ray. You see here bilateral peripheral opacities. On CT, again, we are appreciating these bilateral multifocal peripheral opacities. Yes, multifocal opacity, which are little peripheral as well as little center opacity also on both sides. X-ray, you're seeing non opacity start decreasing or digressing. See a previous X-ray, a dense opacity here, same patient on 8th of May in our hospital. Sorry, yeah, see this opacity and see the opacity here. Opacity are really digressing now. Another elderly male with a history of cough for 3 days, fever 5 days, no shortness of breath. He had a vomiting for 4 days. So what we are seeing here again, some typical peripheral opacities on both sides, multifocal. Here you can appreciate the bronchotactic changes. Again, on X-ray, opacity are more peripheral on the right side as well on the left side, peripheral and on bases. Another elderly male with a history of fever, cough for 5 days. He also had a vomiting. You see this opacity is typical granular opacity, peripheral on both sides, multifocal. They are the typical subclone lesions in basic on both sides. Another really interesting case, another middle-aged person with a history of fever and cough 3 to 4 days. He had a shortness of breath. Again, typical peripheral opacity on chest X-ray and in the basis. Down-glass opacity, again bilateral. These patches that typically they call the round consolidation. You see the multiple area, the mild round consolidation. There's a MIP image and you could see a peripheral as well in the center. That's a VR image. Typically like basically are involved and peripheral as well as center consolidation. Another elderly male, known case of COPD, cough with expectorant in 2 days, breathing difficulty 2 days. Again, you are seeing a gum loss opacities on both sides, more peripheral, and also their focal emphysematous changes. You could appreciate that. Opacities are again in the basis or more posterior, we can call it. X-ray, if you see like again ground glass opacity in both mid and lower zones, that's a follow-up X-ray. Uh, Elderly male with a history of cough and fever for last 7 to 8 days. Why I have chosen this case? This is what typical reverse halo sign you call it. You see a high attenuation which is surrounded by a linear consolidation. So this has been mentioned in literature in our COVID patients. Though it is not typical for COVID, you could see this reverse halo sign in other viral pneumonia as well as in some fungal infection. But yes, one need to know this what is this reverse halo sign. Let's go to other pattern now. A middle-aged male person with history of fever and cough with expectorant. He was hypertensive. You could see a crazy baby pattern on right and left both, which is more peripheral. This is a typical crazy baby pattern I was talking to you on right side and left side, again more peripheral. You could also see a thickening of bronchoscope thickening here, again on both sides. In the base is a typical crazy baby pattern. You will never forget. I feel this could be a better picture rather than even a book picture. Another elderly male with a history of fever on and off, and he had a cough with his sputum. He had no history of shortness of breath, but he had a sore throat. You could see a classical crazy baby pattern, which are more peripheral, more basal. Classical crazy baby pattern. You will not miss once you see what I'm talking about. Crazy baby pattern. See again here some haziness, which is peripheral and basal. Let's go to other pattern. Young female with a shortness of breath and cough with mild fever for 3 to 4 days. She also had a bleeding PB incidentally. What I am seeing here, haziness or ground glass opacities on both sides. They are the area of consolidations on the right side, consolidation on the left side. This is what I'm talking about, like multifocal bilateral, which are typical of COVID. See this X-ray. Again, opacity are in the mid and lower zones, which are more peripheral. That's a for X-ray. Opacity also has come up in the right upper zone. Yes, another young female with a shortness of breath and generalized weakness and giddiness with for 3 to 4 days. High grade of fever she had. You are seeing typical opacities in bilateral mid and lower zones, which are more peripheral. Typical extra COVID patient. On CT, which was performed next day in our hospital, you are seeing ground glass opacities, which are bilateral, the multiple area of consolidation on both sides. You see the opacity, which is peripheral, basal. There's some crazy baby pattern here. That's a clip of a same patient. What I just showed you, that see the typical peripheral opacities. typical peripheral opacities, multifocal, in the basis, some crazy pattern is associated. Let's go to another patient, elderly male with a cough and breathing difficulty for 10 to 12 days. What we are seeing here, typical ground glass opacities in both mid joints and lower joints and peripheral, the typical exit of a COVID patient. Here again, you're seeing this ground glass regions on both sides. You could see a crazy baby pattern. You could see a crazy baby pattern. You could see a bronchovascular thickening here. That's a MIP image. You are seeing typical crazy baby pattern, ground glass opacities, multifocal, and which on X-ray this is more peripheral. So all these cases which I am showing you, RT-PCR was positive on all these patients. That's a clip of a same patient. See, you can very well, you will never miss these findings. See this crazy baby pattern, ground glass opacities, vascular thickening, the typical crazy baby. So extensive, bilateral, multifocal. So once you see these findings, you will never miss. So far what we have seen. So we have seen a typical ground glass opacity, which are peripheral, posterior. We have seen crazy wave pattern. We have seen the subpleural bands. We have seen consolidations, multifocal, round consolidations. We have seen bronchovascular thickening. Once you these findings, you will never miss them. So once it is done, so how do we report? You have a novel CT, which non-infectious abnormalities. We put as a CORAD 1. There are abnormalities consistent with infection, but other than COVID, like other viral pneumonia, you put it CORAD 2. When it is unclear, put it CORAD 3. And when you have when you have an abnormality which you can suspect that could be COVID-19, we put it CORAD 4. And when you see typical findings, what I'm talking, multifocal and peripheral, ground glass, all those opacity, when you see, you put it CORAD 5. And when you see these findings and you know the PCR result, which is positive, we put it CORAD 6. So about CT severity score. I've gone through multiple articles and different researchers, they have come out with a different way of scoring the severity on CT scan. Of course, visual assessment is very easy. It can be, and it's estimated by visual assessment. You can talk whether it's a mild disease or whether it's a severe disease. This was one of the Chinese article which I've gone through, and now we are following this in our department. So what the article says, see, we know that there are 18 segments in the lung. So they've divided these 18 segments into the in the 20 region in the lung. How? Apical-posterior segment of the left upper lobe, they have divided into two, like apical and posterior. And anterior segment of the left basal, they have divided into anterior and the basal segment. So like 20 regions. So imagine for like segment when it is not opacified, they give us 0 score. If it is opacified less than 50%, one segment I'm talking about, we give a score 1. And when segment is opacified either equal to 50% or more than 50%, we give a 2 score. Now imagine a 20 region of this lung are opacified more than 50% on, score become 40. If no opacification, score become 0. So what they talk, when score is below 13, we should label as a mild disease. And when score is 23.5 and above, we put as a severe disease. So how do we score? Let's see that. That's a CT scan. of a patient, you see a small ground glass opacity in the posterior segment of right upper lobe. You're seeing the opacity in the superior segment on both sides, and you're seeing the opacity in the left basal segment. So you see the each segment is opacified for less than 15, for less than 50%. So 1 point for each opacity, and you're seeing these total 4 opacity in the CT scan. Score become 4. So this is like a mild case. Imaging outcome during follow. See, how do we help our clinician? When we talk about RT-PCR, RT-PCR is talking about yes or no. I mean, either it is positive or it is negative. We are not able to talk to clinician. I mean, they're not able to talk to clinician whether patient is worsening, patient is improving. We have this advantage. We can talk about the patient's condition on imaging. That's a elderly female with a history of breathlessness and cough for 5 to 6 days with mild fever. What we are seeing here, typical ground glass opacity, which are bilateral. There is a small effusion on both sides. This study was done on 9th of May in our hospital. After a week, you see now opacity start decreasing. Effusion almost has regressed. I mean, you see here and you see here. So now we can talk to clinician. Now your patient is now doing better off. X-ray of the same patient, one can see opacity here, mid and lower zone, and which are peripheral, and same patient X-ray now opacity are getting almost regressed. So how much our CT chest is reliable? CT abnormalities may be detected from day 3 to day 4, from the day of symptom, and persist till day 22 to 24 from the initial symptoms. PCR is false negative in 33 to 35% of COVID patients. CT chest is positive in 55 to 60% of asymptomatic patients. CT chest is positive in 85 to 90% patients with positive PCR. Sensitivity of CT chest is very high, almost 96% versus PCR is 81 to 94%. Negative predictive value of CT chest is 83 to 95%. Positive predictive value of CT chest is 65 to 84%. Of course, there is a variation in different articles. This is I've taken from the RSNA article. People have done different studies and different research, and there could be a minor variation. CT chest done after 4 to 5 days of onset of symptom with a negative PCR could be positive in 94 to 99% of COVID patients. CT features of COVID are fairly typical in early phase. However, there are overlapping findings like other viral pneumonia in few cases. Yes, so far we are talking about opacity and COVID patients. So we need to have our ear and eye open. There could be other patients other than COVID. So all ground glass opacity are not COVID. See this X-ray. We could see our ground glass opacities in both mid and lower zone. CT of the same patient, typical ground glass opacities on both sides. There is small effusion. There was also cardiomegaly. This was a case of fluid overload. Young male with history of cough and fever with dyspnea since 5 to 6 days. What we could see here, ground glass opacities on both sides. That lower pneumonia, and RT-PCR was negative in this patient. This was proved to be an adenovirus infection. Another young male with a history of mild fever and breathing prolonged for 4 to 5 days. What we are seeing here, ground glass opacity is bilateral. But you see, they are like more diffuse opacities. You could see fine nodules here. This was a case of hypersensitivity pneumonitis. Another patient, you can see opacities, but you know that typical teen bud appearance, and there was a lower pneumonia. This was a case of bronchopneumonia. Another young male with history of fever for 1 week. What we are seeing here, ground glass opacities that appear to me even peripheral as well as central. Uh, Again, RT-PCR was negative in this patient. This was another viral pneumonia, non-COVID. Another young male with history of fever for 4 to 5 days. We are seeing multifocal ground glass opacities on both sides, and RT-PCR was negative. This was a case of influenza. This is one of the newer technique I have come across through one of the article, and I found it very useful. How I'll tell you that what you're seeing in the ground glass opacities, which is basal and on the both side. See, this is like a tool which each of us we have at the bottom of our workstation in the city system. So the tool basically you get these city images which you already perform, or I'm talking about the ozone data of city. You get it. Just click on that tool, and you see these dilated bronchioles or air space. Also, even better, see you're seeing the ground glass opacities on both sides, and we don't have to do anything. We just press onto that tool which is there at the bottom of your workstation. I'm repeating, and you're seeing the dilated bronchioles which are a bit irregular. If you see these findings, this is definitely typical you are seeing in the COVID patients. In my hospital, we have tried in good number of patients, and we all were like successful. That's a coronal and the Seattle maze. So we can definitely confidently can say that this is COVID positive patients. That's article which I have seen for this. About CT lung perfusion, of course, I personally had no experience in lung perfusion. I was going through this the article which was published in RSNA. So what this article says, see the ground glass opacities on both sides, multifocal, that's a bronchoscope thickening. We know that this is like there is a thromboembolic phenomena. The thickening is due to that inside thrombus. Ground glass opacity on both sides. So what happened? You see here ground glass opacity with the thickening of bronchoscope thickening. So what happens in the perfusion images? You see a perfusion defect. See here, that's a perfusion defect. So we know there is a venous thrombosis is there. And when we see a increased perfusion, article says if you see an increased perfusion, then most likely you are going to develop these ground glass opacity. So I mean, you can detect very early. That's one, and you can talk about the thrombosis within the vessel. So like that's how we can help our clinician friend. Uh, he can decide is it anticoagulant or maybe heparin therapy. I think this may be done when you have a certain breathing problem and features are unexplained, and people are sending patient to us for CT pulmonary angio. In the same sitting, we can, I think, do a lung perfusion and talk about venous thrombosis. Now we all are excited about artificial intelligence. So like everybody is working for that, which of course under trial. We know it. A lot of companies, including Siemens, they all are working for AI, and that's talking that sensitivity by using AI could be 90%, and that could be specific almost in 96% cases. So how does AI help us? Of course, we know during pandemic we are really loaded with a lot of patients. So definitely AI can help us as an assistant. I mean, AI is not going to replace us. It can help us as an assistant. AI also may be helpful in recognizing lesion in CT images, quantitatively characterizing findings and comparing changes between examination. It can answer a lot of questions raised by clinicians, for example, triaging of patient, diagnosis, of course, in combination with RT-PCR test, and epidemiological risk, assessment of severity and progression, and response to therapy alternative. And of course, we're talking about CT severity score. Yeah, definitely can help us and can do scoring faster than us. But yes, there are few challenges. The only limited data available till today. It is too early to apply this technology in clinical practice as first line of mortality. There are many ethical and medical legal implications in the use of this technology, even in emergency situation. And yes, clinical validation is required. I was really impressed with this article. That's a good guide actually. Uh, a multinational consensus statement from the business society. What happened when we had a lot of cases, like almost like after 3 months of pandemic, there were 9 lakh cases across the world and more than 50,000 of deaths. So like this was a expert opinion of a panelist across 10 countries. They included a good number of almost more than 15 chest physician, pulmonologist, doctor from trials, from critical area and laboratory. And they had a panel discussion, and they reached to conclusion and gave us the consensus when to use imaging and when not to use imaging. This pandemic, we cannot do imaging for each and every patient. Otherwise, we're loaded with the work too much. So this is not a guideline basically, and they work in a different scenario. Patient with a mild feature, patient with a moderate to severe features. And when we have a resource constraint, we didn't have a resource constraint. So of course, there are no fixed guidelines so far. It might vary about resources, what we have in the hospital, what are the features patient has. Let me read one or two at least. Reading number 3, is imaging indicated in patient with a mild features consistent with COVID-19 and negative COVID-19 test. Consensus says imaging is not required. If I take another scenario, is imaging indicated in hospitalized patient with moderate to severe features consistent with COVID-19 and in negative COVID-19 test? Yes, we should do imaging. So like this is a different scenario they have worked upon. This article was published in RSNA. As Sonal already has mentioned, you will be getting handout if you need. The icon in your link and you can download that. So to conclude, I'll say chest X-ray can be used as an initial triage tool due to delay in RT-PCR report and also for follow-up in ICU or bed, when we need a bedside X-rays. Yes, portable DR score over CR, no doubt in that. Recognition of imaging pattern may help in reducing the differential. The epidemiological history of clinical symptoms, laboratory findings should be considered comprehensively. At present, CT should be reserved for prognosis purpose and also to early detect complications in patient who requires further mechanical ventilation and treatment planning. RT-PCR remain needed for final confirmation, but its positivity may be delayed with the need to repeat the test if the CT features are suggested. Yes, most of the cases I have got from my own hospital, and some images I have taken from published papers. I'm thankful to my team in the hospital who has helped me in preparing this presentation. Yes, this seminar or this webinar was organized with support of Samsung. I really appreciate them. They keep doing the academic activity. Nowadays, they are doing webinar every week, rather twice a week. This is the hospital I come from. Now I'm ready to take any question if you have. And yes, after that, in case if I fail to answer all the questions or time limits, you can also write mail to me. I'll try to answer as much as possible. Thank you very much for kind attention on Saturday evening. Thank you, Sonal. Thank you, Team
Thank you,
Samsung.
sir.
Now I'm ready to take questions.
Thank you so much, sir. Now we'll take the questions. Sir, one of the first questions is, how common are pleural effusions in COVID patients?
As I said in my talk, pleural effusion is not common. It's very uncommon, but yes, we might see in some cases. Can we go to camera? Am I clear, Sonalji?
Yes, sir. So,
Pleurophilia is not common in these patients, but yes, we might see, though not common. I do not know the exact percentage, but not really common.
okay. One of the follow-up questions is, could you show us some images?
Or for a patient.
Yeah.
Can I go to full screen? I want images. Slide. Yeah. Yeah, I'll just take you through some of the follow-up cases. Yeah, this was one of the follow-up case which I have shown. You can see a opacity on both side of lung. And yes, in the same case, there was a small effusion. This was performed in my hospital on 9th of May. And see this follow-up case. You could see a very decrease in the opacity and effusion almost regressed.
Thank you, sir. So the next one is a wonderful talk, Dr. Goyal. Thanks. And does subpleural fibrotic changes in a recovered patient of COVID disappear with the passage of time?
Yes, it get changed into the fibrosis and they might persist even beyond 1 month. They may not, it become a fibrotic changes basically. A linear consolidation become a fibrotic changes and they might persist even late phases. They may not completely go away.
Okay. Thank you, sir. So what percentage of COVID patients get the lung infection that goes undetected?
What percentage of patients which goes undetected?
What percentage of COVID patients get lung infection that goes undetected?
I have not come across any such article. I'll try to check it, and if somebody asking, you could send me his email. I'll try to answer on mail after checking it. Not really aware.
Okay, sir. So the next one is, there may be possibility that during PET-CT in cancer patients, CT findings favor a high suspicion of COVID. Do you have experience with PET findings in such cases which complement the findings on CT?
I do not have experience on PET-CT. Yes, by doing PET-CT this year, like this is addition of a combination of CT and PET. You might see a COVID finding on PET-CT also, what we are seeing in the CT here. And I'm talking again that yes, RT-PCR is again needed, but yes, you can appreciate on PET-CT also, because that is ultimately a CT scan with combination of PET.
Okay.
If you
So
have
the
a
next
cancer
question.
patient, if you have a cancer patient with also COVID features, you may appreciate yes.
Okay. Sir, should the imaging system be dedicated for COVID?
Yes, very well. That's what I said in my presentation. It is a good idea. If you talk about the CT scan, yeah, we need to disinfect after each patient. We may not afford to have a 2 CT or 3 CT in every hospital. But yes, if I talk about X-ray units or portable DR, as in my case, on my hospital, we need to dedicate one system. That's what we have done. We have stationed one DR outside ICU, and we only use that system. While in department, we are using other system for non-COVID patients. We are dedicating. If we can have a spare system, yes, it's recommended. If you do not have that, yeah, then you have to disinfect, wait for a 15 minute or half an hour before taking next patient.
So does CT scan help in risk stratification in terms of survival chances of COVID?
Yes, very well, very well. That's where the role of
Patient in
CT
ICU.
comes. Uh, as I'm saying, RT-PCR is just telling you whether test is positive or negative. It is CT scan which talk to you about disease progression. Are we worsening? Are we improving? As I said, is there any bronchoscopic thickening? Is there any thrombosis? So yes, CT is the one which talk about the clinical feature which clinician may be thinking. It talk about the lung injury exactly. Yes, CT scan. That's where we have a role. It is not talking about only positive or negativity as RT-PCR. It's talking about how much lung is injured, how much is getting worsened, how much is getting improved. That's where we have a role of CT scan. Yes.
So the next question is, are you doing X-ray chest for every patient who comes with respiratory or GIT symptoms?
Yes, once patient come to my hospital and he has a respiratory symptom, we have to take a chest X-ray first as a initial screening procedure.
So the another one is, thank you, Dr. Goel. Sir, I have a question. What should we relay on for COVID-19 diagnosis, CT or RT-PCR, during negative reports of RT-PCR test?
See, it is known initial phase RT-PCR report could be negative up to 3-4 days. RT-PCR report become positive only after 5 or 6 days. So we have to proceed with a CT scan. We might see finding in CT scan even on second or third day or within the third or fourth day. So there are enough number of cases which we have seen that CT was positive, RT-PCR was negative, and RT-PCR was repeated after 2-3 days, which became positive. So that's where yes, we do should screen patient with a CT scan and repeat RT-PCR after a few days.
Thank you, sir. So does CECT help or HRCT is enough?
No, we should do HRCT, which is enough. Unless doctor is asking for pulmonary angiogram or is suspecting thrombosis, then only we do contrast CT. Otherwise, we like to avoid contrast CT due to contamination, due to infection. We should do plain CT.
So the next question is, thank you for the presentation. Do you think chest X-ray is more useful for screening and follow-up than CT? Is it right?
Yeah, definitely, definitely. Initial screening, I think we should do only chest X-ray. Many times we might see a finding, and we don't do CT scan for each and every patient. The various reasons, shifting patient to CT scan, then doing disinfection. So this is like a misuse of resources, and we are going to infect ourselves and other staff. We don't do CT as a screening procedure. We should do a chest X-ray, yes. And then yes, patient is worsening, we should go ahead with a CT scanner, yes. And follow up again, we might do a chest X-ray itself, which is good enough in ICUs and bedside. So follow up cases and initial chest X-ray are good enough.
So does persistent positivity of CT finding of COVID correlate with patient being infective to others?
Yes, yes, yes. Of course, in my hospital, we keep talking to our clinician. So that's where the role of CT come. We do see CT findings and we see a patient findings are becoming more extensive, patient also worsening. Definitely, that's where role of CT come. Finding in CT definitely correlate with the clinical features. That's where we can explain condition of patient. Yeah, it's worsening or whether improving. Unlike RT-PCR, which is just a yes and no answer.
Thank you, sir. So next one is, what disinfectant do you use to disinfect X-ray and CT?
We have a proper hospital department and they use a hypochlorite solution. Typically, they don't do a spray. It might go inside. So they have a gauze piece wet into that hypochlorite solution and they clean entire portable X-ray or CT scanner with that. And we wait for half an hour as a standard before taking next patient.
So are there any signs of intravascular thrombosis in HRCT?
Yes, we might see a bronchovascular thickening, as I already talked in my presentation, which you might see through your glass opacities. And you can just say there could be a thrombosis.
So the next one, Yes, sir. Thank you, sir. The next one, is it possible that we make a mistake to differentiate COVID and non-COVID city?
I'm saying we have a typical finding of COVID, but yes, there are gray area. There are other viral pneumonias we need to take into the mind. Sometimes findings might overlap. So that's where we need, as I'm talking, we need to have a clinical history about history of travel. Talking about the epidemiology, then we need to correlate with the RT-PCR. So put all together, then we are confident that yes, this is COVID. So sometimes we might say on CT alone, sometimes finding could be overlapping due to other viral pneumonias. Yes. So we may not always talk. So that's why we say CT is very sensitive but not specific.
Thank you, sir. Sir, the next one, which would be a preferable modality, CR or a DR?
Of course, no doubt that we should do a DR for various reasons that better resolution, better image quality, and mostly in these patients we are doing bedside X-ray. So we take a DR to bedside or in ICU and take an image, and we can show to clinician there as well. He wants any additional image, we can always take there itself, and without delay in treatment, he can start the treatment. While resolution, yes, there was a day we were doing conventional X-ray, we were using CR, but if available, DR definitely is a preferred choice and also less radiation. Though that is second issue at the moment for us, but for a better resolution, DR is preferred.
Thank you, sir. Sir, all asymptomatic patients you advise to perform CT?
Not really. They should not undergo CT unless patient has a symptom. At the most, clinician sometime they may advise X-ray, but personally, I'll say that they should not undergo any imaging unless they have a symptoms.
Thank you so much, sir. With this, we come towards the end of the session. On behalf of Team Samsung, I take this opportunity to thank Dr. Goyal for this enriching session. We sincerely hope that everybody found this session valuable and informative. We look forward to hearing from you, and your feedback will encourage us to do better. Wishing everybody a very good night. Stay safe and stay healthy. Sir, once again, thank you so much for your valuable inputs and the wonderful presentation.
Thank you very much, Sonal. Thank you very much, Team Samsung. And thank you very much, all the audience who has spent time on a Saturday evening. I hope I made things a little simple and a little more clear. I'm confident that once you see these findings and cases and you come across now another city, you will not miss that. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Good night.
Good night.